Hi, Bookaholics. This is Deirdre Pippins, and welcome to another exciting show. Exciting because I'm talking to a thriller novelist, Patsy Robertson. Patsy, welcome to the Bookaholic Podcast.
Thank you, Deidre. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, so we're glad to have you here. So, I'm a little prejudiced. I like to have guests on who written thrillers or historical fiction because those are my favorite genres. So definitely they get featured. And so you've written a debut novel, which is a thriller. That seems like a huge undertaking for a debut novel. But anyway, called A Concoction of Lies.
Yes, yes.
I love that title. I love that title. I am such a mystery and thriller person, whether it's books, whether it's movies, whether it's slightly comical or very dark. I love thrillers and mysteries. And so
Good.
let's dive in. Let's dive
Okay.
into what this is about. But first, since this is your debut, let's set the tone for everyone who you are. A lot of times I interview lawyers, former lawyers who become writers, John Grisham.
Okay.
And yes, but today you are a former person in the technology field, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Former technology field, you are retired and you
Yes.
decided to take up writing a novel. Now, so how did you make that transition from being a person in tech to writing a novel?
During COVID,
Mm.
once the pandemic hit, I'd been putting off retirement. I really didn't feel that I needed to retire, primarily because I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I had just planned to be that person with an IV pole sitting in my desk. But COVID impacted, say, my thinking as to how short and valuable life could be. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, after that, I decided to go ahead and retire. And after, I don't know, maybe the first 3 or 4 months in the lockdown, I was bored. I was really bored. So I was looking for a new hobby. Went
Okay.
online, found a creative writing class at the local community college that was all online, and thought I'd just take it and see where it went. And here we are. Yeah, I just
Wow.
fell in love, and here I am.
That must have been a heck of a creative writing course.
It was good. It was really good because I knew nothing about the world of writing stuff from emails and status reports and things of that nature, but also about the publishing industry. I had no idea what it took to get a book from someone's thought processes in their head to an actual physical book in their hands.
Right.
So the whole journey, I was just like Alice in Wonderland. It was just like one rabbit hole led to the next rabbit hole, but it was a great experience.
Wow. Now, how long did it take you to write your book?
4 years from
Okay.
January of 20 was when I actually started the class, my first
You
writing class, and we published in December of 24.
Wow. Okay. And did you decide to self-publish or do you have a publisher?
I have a publisher, but it was a hybrid process. I tried to go the traditional route. I really chose the traditional route primarily because I wanted all of the checks and balances as far as the editing and just grinding it out to make sure I could come up with a polished product that
Right.
maybe someone in the clouds would actually want to publish. But after rounds and rounds of interviews with agents and rejections, I decided I would try the independent route. But then I was approached by a publisher. So we set up a contract, and they were responsible for certain things and I was responsible for others.
Okay. 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 And how was the marketing? How did marketing play? Was that solely your responsibility or theirs or
Uh,
also hybrid?
It was the publisher actually created my initial website. That was
Okay.
part of the contract. But as far as publishing and marketing, after again learning in these classes, I knew that I did not have the capability or the knowledge to on how to really publish a book. I could look online, lots and lots of information out there, lots of books out there, but I finally put together a little team. I have a team. I have publicists. I
Yes.
actually have a young lady that does my marketing. She handles all of my social media right now and things of that nature to help me because she has resources. One thing I have to say about this new gig economy with the young millennials, and they are all like contractors.
Yes.
So time frames for how long I need them, etc. It's all negotiable, and I really like it. They have been a
Absolutely.
great source. And then there was a young lady to handle my website. The initial website was, like I said, it was very generic, very vanilla, and I wanted it to be a little more dynamic. I
Mhm.
found a young lady who could help me expand the website.
Absolutely. That's wonderful because I asked you that because a lot of times people will write a book and it's like somebody will open a store and think traffic will come just because you open a store at a strip mall. And so that same analogy flows over to writers and especially budding writers or debut writers. And they write the book and they think it's a wonderful idea and so exciting, but they don't realize you've got to put a lot of marketing into
Mhm.
that book. And one of the reasons why I have this channel is to make sure everyone knows just because a book is on the New York Times bestsellers list doesn't mean that there's not other books out there that are just as worthy. Those books on the New York Times bestsellers list have a lot of marketing behind them.
I totally agree. I did not realize the amount of work, additional work, just getting it published, like you say, that is just one of the phases. All of the work that comes afterwards, I've been really kind of overwhelmed. It's a lot. It's a lot to kind of, like you say, to get it out there, to get it published, the marketing, and it's almost like a full-time job.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
But you've got the time now and you can write some more books now that you've gone through your first rodeo.
yeah, yeah.
To say such a thing. But
Yeah.
now, so let's get on to a concoction of lies. And what made you want to write a thriller? I'm not saying that any genre is safe, but why would you want to write a thriller?
My first when I first made the decision that I wanted to write, my main thing was I wanted more mature characters. I wanted older characters
Yes,
because the industry seems to think anyone over the age of 50 is invisible.
absolutely.
So I wanted older characters, but I also wanted the book to be exciting, something that would take a reader down a path and the highs and the lows and the suspense and drama. So that's why I chose thriller. I didn't think, say, a romance novel or something like that would really, especially for the ages of the characters in the book, I really just didn't think it would have the same impact. So I wanted
Okay.
to
Okay.
help
Okay.
people in a way.
I found that it was maybe Jasmine Guillory, who is an African American romance writer, top of her game. And she wrote a book. I read it and I can't remember the title, but she had some older characters in it, which I really appreciated because so
Mhm.
many people don't think older people fall in love, have sex, want to have sex. They
Exactly.
just think that they're uh, a grandma and sailing off on the grandma wave, and she's got on the church hat.
Exactly.
And I'm so sorry. I don't have any grandchildren at this time, but I could. And I'm just so sorry to disappoint all the younger people, but people over 50 are ready to fly.
Exactly. That's what I'm
They're
saying.
ready to fly. I'm telling you. So
Yes, and that's what I wanted to portray in the book in a way. Yes, and I felt a thriller was the best way to get that out there.
got you. So tell us about some of the characters and how you developed them.
The two primary characters is Chance Moore, who is a cybersecurity specialist, and
Hmm,
Chance hacks a bank account for a cartel and steals their money. And
that's dangerous.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. Both. And then there's Vonnie Hollister. Vonnie's a older, wealthy woman who is suffering from chronic depression.
Mm,
And because of that, she along the way she's become addicted to prescription drugs and alcohol.
oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
The book is multicultural, primarily because it takes place, most of the significant activity takes place in Guatemala and Belize.
Okay.
Both of the characters are African American, but Vonnie especially has ties, familiar ties to Belize. Her father is Belizean. And
Okay.
she temporarily moves to Belize to sell family's banana plantation. And that's
Okay.
where their paths begin to cross.
Oh, got
Yeah.
you. Got you. Now, since we were talking about age, how old are the main characters?
Oh, yeah. In the book, the youngest character is 40 years old.
Okay.
Oldest is 74. Chance,
Yes. I like that.
Chance, Chance is in his middle 50s,
Okay.
but Vonnie is 60 years old.
Wonderful.
Mm,
Absolutely wonderful. Yeah. And they're not necessarily doing any grandma or grandpa roles in this
No,
book, correct?
not at all. Not at
Good.
all.
Good. Okay. So, overall, without giving anything away, we've already talked about Chance has a hacked cartel's bank account. And so, how their lives cross, but how is it a romantic kind of little cross or just a accidental cross? How did you make the two stories combine? What magic did you use to make those two stories come together?
Chance is kidnapped. The cartel discovers who he is, and he's kidnapped and smuggled into Guatemala. I'm not
Oh,
giving anything away because this is on the back of the book.
okay, okay.
And he's smuggled into Guatemala, and there he's given a choice. He can either hack for the cartel, or he can. That's basically it. Those are his two
That-
choices.
That's usually pretty much a cartel choice. It's either their way
Yeah.
or their way.
Yeah, he manages to escape. Belize and Guatemala are neighbors. They
Okay,
share a border. So he manages to escape and he heads east to the Belize border.
okay.
Their paths cross when Chance is found unconscious and close to death on Bonnie's plantation and is
Ah,
moved into her house
oh,
to recover. So while Bonnie is dealing with her issues and trying to solve her problems, Chance is anxious to get off the plantation before the cartel discovers where he is.
absolutely. I don't
Yeah.
blame you.
Yeah, but covert intelligence has led cartel soldiers illegally across the Belize border, and they know exactly where he is. So I'll leave it there.
Okay, okay. It definitely sounds very exciting. And you said it was published in December 2024?
Yes,
Ah, so do you have any other books in the oven?
yes. As a matter of fact, I'm working on one now, and it's just It's easier in one way because I have all the lessons learned from book
Yes.
one. Yeah, but still, just getting the storyline straight again and again, the characters will be more mature
Good.
than 20 or 30. And the location. As I said, the first one, it took place in Guatemala, and Belize.
Mhm.
This one is going to take place in Trinidad.
Oh,
So
wow.
Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds
Mhm.
exciting. So, once again, more people of color and older people. So that's
Mhm.
wonderful. Absolutely, because these characters are unrepresented, and definitely they
Definitely.
need to be presented because everybody has a storyline.
And my primary goal, I had a pretty clear vision as to what I wanted to do when I started writing the book, and that was African Americans. We have family ties all throughout, besides just Africa, all
Abs-
throughout the Caribbean, South America, up to Mexico. And I wanted to make sure that those cultures are represented because they are our relatives. They are our
Absolutely. Ab-
ancestors.
Absolutely.
So all of
You
most of say I want that is the thing that I want to portray in my books. The connection between those other cultures and the African Americans here.
are
Families, relatives, other connections, that type of.
wonderful. It all sounds wonderful to me. And we will certainly have your information and the link to your book, Concoction of Lies, in the podcast show notes and in the video description box below. Patsy Robertson, thank you for joining us on the Bookaholic Podcast. And thank you for your diversity in writing.
Hey, it was my pleasure. It was an honor, Deirdre. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, wonderful to have you.
Okay.